told him I was going to say that old bald cripple's going to come up here again.
And he would object to the word old.
Okay, I'm the bear of the hour. About a year ago, I joined Base Storytellers, and I've just been delighted to get a chance to hang out with the various master storytellers that are here in Bay County and actually all over the state of Florida. And I've learned a lot from them, and I developed this new program out of that. I've given it at a few other UUs while I've been out of town. This will be my first time here. Coffee. A little thing I wrote that I haven't been able to memorize yet. Through the ancient art of storytelling, we weave words, we teach one another. We learn from one another, we laugh, we acknowledge our humanity. We realize others have the same foibles we do, and we grow into a better understanding of the world. As we become more empowered, we create our own stories, our own myths, and hopefully, begin to heal, to learn, and to grow in heart, mind, and spirit. I was planning to do some stories today. Some of them will be from my time as a National Park Ranger in Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And I'm going to concentrate on that just because I like to be able to give people a different window to look through. The reality of the Chihuahuan Desert in West Texas is so much different from our reality here. There are so many places out there where I'd even be driving and just stop the car and get out of the car and look around me, and there would be no, outside of the asphalt, there would be no sign of any humans in any direction, no houses, no nothing, no people, and it's just a whole different perspective, and you can just see forever and ever when you're not in the mountains themselves. And everything's different. The flora and fauna are different out there. And I still dream about the Guadalupe Mountains. When I was a young ranger, first starting out, I was not yet aware of just how vital huge quantities of water are when you're out in the desert, especially if you're hiking in the summertime. And of course I was young and full of it, and I went one day in July. I went to take a hike from the high country. I used to work at the 8,000-foot level in the Guadalupe Wilderness. I was responsible for 65,000 acres of wilderness and about 85 miles of hiking trail, and did fire watch and rescued lost tourists and all that good stuff. Plenty of mountain lion, mule deer in the high country, and of course Mr. Snake too, as well. It was a day in July where I had been told, where I stayed in a ranger cabin up in the high country. Sometimes wouldn't see other people for days at a time, but I'd been told there was a tree down across a trail in West Dog Canyon. I love that name, West Dog. I got in trouble a few times in West Dog, but that's all right. And I'll tell you about it. So I packed up a folding saw in my pack, and I decided to go overnight. And I called my boss. Back then we used walkie-talkies. They probably use cell phones now. And I said, well, I'm going to head down to West Dog and take care of that tree. And some of the stretches of trail nobody had been on in about a year. So I figured I'll go and check them out and let you know how things are going. He said, Paul, you sure you want to go in this heat? And I said, oh, it'll be fine. I'm going to take 2 gallons of water with me. 2 gallons turned out to be nowhere near enough for 36 hours. I swear to you, nowhere near enough. So I go down into the canyon, I find the tree, and I cut it and opened up the trail and went to the edge of the park in an area that hardly anyone ever goes to. And I stayed at one of the primitive campsites. I was responsible for 11 primitive campsites all through the backcountry as well. And I woke up in the morning and my throat was so dry I couldn't swallow. So I was drinking water, and I had already gone through one of the 2 gallons. And I had gone down 1,000 feet getting to West Dome. And now I had to start climbing back up again after exploring another place that hardly was ever used. One of the problems, besides not having enough water, was that there was one stretch where I planned to have my lunch that on my topo map, it was all greenery. So it was supposed to be all kinds of shade there. No one had told me there had been a lightning strike and the greenery was all gone. So I don't know how hot it was. And it's, if you've never been out there, I'm not kidding when I say the humidity levels in the summertime, even in the wintertime, can be 5 to 10%. When it gets up to 30 to 35%, it's on the front page of the El Paso Times. People are complaining about how humid it is. And I got to the point where I was still 6 or 7 miles from the cabin uphill, and I ran out of water. And my tongue started to swell up in my mouth. And when someone called me from the ranger station, I was and I started to hallucinate as well. But I kept walking, and to make a long story short, I eventually got back to the cabin, and the key wouldn't work in the lock in the cabin. And I knew there was over 50 gallons of water again. They have pack trains that bring it up in 5-gallon cubes. They bring it up by horse and mule train. I couldn't get in the cabin. For about half an hour, I'm working that lock and working that lock, and I'm going, when you swear, when your tongue is swelling. And I joke with people that, you know, this was Mescalero Apache country, and I said the ghosts of old Mescaleros were looking down at me going, eventually, right before the time I was ready to headbutt the door like Curly from the Three Stooges, I got it to open. And I went in, and I sat in front of one of the water cubes with my little glass, and I'm pouring myself a glass. And it was water, you know, they've been up there for months, you know, so it's pretty rank, but it tasted like 7-year-old Bordeaux. I sat in front of that water cube for about at least an hour or